Let me know when you are ready, okay? Yes. Okay, Prabhu, you are live now. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley Wednesday class. Today we'll start with singing, and then I will give a session on Sri Ramanujacarya. Let's start with singing today. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandanam Rajajanaranjanam Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjanam Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Omajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Prabhupada Priya Dasaya Jagannadaya Yatranandamurtaye Bhakta Sukaya Krishnot-kirtanena Nirsimhena Rakshitaya Namaha Namavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyacha Deshatarine Namavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Today I am going to speak about the pastimes and life of Ramanujacarya. I did give a session few months back on some of the pastimes of Ramanujacarya. Because of time constraints, we could not finish the entire pastimes of Ramanujacarya. In this session, we will try to finish the remaining pastimes which we have not covered earlier. Ramanujacharya was one of the greatest acharyas in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. He was born in 1017 AD in Sri Perumbudur in India, and he left to Vaikuntha, or he left this mortal world and went back to Vishnu Loka in 1137 AD in Srirangam, India. He almost performed 120 years on this mortal planet. The great Vaishnava Ramanuja Acharya held that bhakti, or surrender to God, as the sole path to the realization of God. And his school of philosophy is also known as Vishishta Advaita, and his followers are generally called Sri Vaishnavas. He wrote commentaries on Brahma Sutras, and he also wrote a commentary on some of the important Upanishads and also Bhagavad Gita. And it was of his view that the three philosophical texts, especially Brahma Sutras, the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, they all proclaim bhakti as the chief means of realizing God or attaining God. And for Ramanuja, caste never mattered. He accepted Kanchipurna, who was not a Brahmin, as one of his gurus, and one of his most worthy disciples, Dasa, was also a non-Brahmin. He was from a lower caste. For Ramanuja, a Vaishnava is worthy of respect, and a Vaishnava is one who has abundant love for God, our Lord Krishna, our Lord Vishnu. And in his opinion, a person becomes great by virtue of his nature, but not by virtue of his birth. We said the same point in the first session also. And in the first session, I concluded that Ramanuja took sannyas in the temple of Varadaraja in Kanchipuram. And during his sannyas ceremony, and one of the staunch devotees at the time, Kanchipurna, he was inspired by Lord Varadaraja, and he gave him the title Yatiraj. And the Tridandi sannyas, he took the Tridandi sannyas as compared to the Mayavadi sannyas who take Ekadanda sannyas. And this Tridandi sannyas symbolizes complete surrender of thoughts, words and deeds to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when Yatiraj or Ramanujacharya, he put on saffron robes, he looked like an effulgent rising sun. And in the previous session, we concluded that we mentioned that Ramanujacarya was able to go to the final rites of Yamunacharya, and before he left this mortal world, Yamunacharya gave one final instruction to all of his followers, and he said that offer his final instruction was offer flowers at the lotus feet of the Lord and always try to follow your Guru's order. Destroy all false ego by serving the Vaishnavas. This is an important order. This is even Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada also had a similar sentiment, and he also emphasized serving Vaishnavas. And by serving Vaishnavas, he is of opinion, Yamunacharya says that our false ego can be destroyed. And he also gave another instruction. Every day you should rise early and go to the temple to worship Lord Ranganatha, smelling the flowers that have been offered to his lotus feet. In this way, your mind and intelligence will become purified and you will become fixed in your devotion to Lord Narayana. In addition, you should always be devoted to your spiritual master and be attentive in serving guests. We mentioned in our previous session that Ramanuja was in a dilemma on whom he should accept as a spiritual master. Initially, he approached Kanchipurna, but because Kanchipurna was from a lower caste, Kanchipurna did not accept Ramanuja Charya as his disciple, since Ramanujacharya was from a Brahmin community, and in those times caste system was very rigid, and Kanchipurna did not accept Ramanuja as his disciple. And eventually Lord Varadaraja revealed through Kanchipurna to Ramanuja that he should go and accept Mahapurna as his spiritual master. And Mahapurna was one of the disciples of Yamunacharya, another stalwart Acharya in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So after taking initiation from Mahapurna, Ramanujacharya served his guru at his home for 6 months, but unfortunately due to a friction with Mahapurna's wife and Ramanuja's wife, Mahapurna left his house and he went back to Srirangam. Later on, Ramanujacharya, realizing the mistake of his wife, and he also, he took sannyas later on because of a few things he could not accept the mistakes of his wife. Some of the mistakes his wife committed to Vaishnavas. So to set a great example, Ramanujacharya took sannyas ceremony in Kanchipuram temple, and gradually he started accepting disciples, and also he started his teaching, especially Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. Initially, he has one disciple by name Dasharati. It looks like Dasharati was his nephew, and Dasharati was very famous for his knowledge in Vedas, and he accepted another famous disciple by name Kuresh, who had a wonderful memory. We will discuss how Quresh was able to help Ramanujacarya on his journey to Kashmir to get a copy of Bodhayana Vritti. And he also has eventually, because of Ramanuja's humility and scholarship and being in the renounced order of life, I mean sannyas order, Yadav Prakash also became a disciple of Ramanujacharya. Yadav Prakash was actually a Mayavad scholar, and he was his former teacher. And at one time, Yadav Prakash admonished Ramanujacharya on one of the Upanishads sutras, and they had a big disagreement at the time. And Ramanuja corrected him. And when Ramanuja corrected him, Yadav Prakash was not at all happy, and he banished Ramanujacharya from his Mayavada school. So as we can see here, Yadav Prakash has become a disciple of Ramanujacharya. You can see his mother also in this picture. Yadav Prakash was took initiation actually became a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and after accepting Yadav Prakash as his disciple, Ramanujacharya gave Yadav Prakash the name Govinda Dasa, and he also addressed him saying, now your mind has become free from all contamination. To remove the sins of the past, you should write a book delineating the duties of a true Vaishnava. By rendering this service, you will attain full perfection. And Yadav Prakash, following the order of Ramanujacharya, he wrote a book called Eti Dharma Samuchaya, and which he offered at the feet of his guru. And after about 80 years, he left this world, and Ramanujacharya, to appreciate, he actually read that book, and he appreciated the work of his disciple. And as time progressed, he was still in Kanchipuram, and the devotees in Srirangam were, after Yamunacharya left this mortal world, they don't have any good guidance. They are still, they don't have a great Acharya like Yamunacharya to lead them, and they were, they were a little bit, they are feeling that vacuum. They were feeling the vacuum that they don't have a great Acharya like Yamunacharya. And one day, Mahapurna was praying to Lord Ranganatha in Srirangam, and Lord Ranganath became compassionate towards Mahapurna, and he gave this instruction: my child, you must send Varanga, the most sweet singer, to Lord Varadaraja in Kanchipuram. When Lord Varadaraja is pleased by Varanga's bhajans and offers him a benediction, then he should ask that Ramanuja be allowed to come here. Without Varadaraja's permission, Ramanuja will never leave his shelter. Ramanuja's started his journey, the bhakti journey in Kanchipuram. So he was naturally attached to the Lord in Kanchipuram, the Lord Vardaraja in Kanchipuram, and he was serving along with Kanchipurna in Kanchipuram. But the Yamunacharya's followers, and there are other Sri Vaishnavas who are in Srirangam, and they want to bring um, Ramanujacarya to Srirangam. So, hearing the instruction, the instruction from Mahapurna, Varanga, he went to Kanchipuram, and he started singing beautiful prayers, to Lord Varadaraja, and being pleased with the service of singing of Varanga, Lord Varadaraja gave him the permission to Ramanujacharya to go to Srirangam and be the Acharya of the Vaishnavas there. Even though Ramanujacharya was not happy to leave the association of Kanchipurna and also the Lord Varadaraja in Kanchipuram. He was happy that he was able to serve Yamunacharya and his followers in Srirangam. So, once Ramanujacharya went back to Srirangam, Lord Ranganatha was very pleased to see Ramanujacharya in Srirangam, and he gave two mystic powers. One mystic power is he bestowed the ability to cure the sick to Ramanujacharya, and also to strength, and also he gave the strength to protect the devotees from illusion. Illusion means considering Maya as the supreme. And also Mahapurna, who was actually a senior to Ramanujacharya, and who was a disciple of Yamunacharya, and he was very pleased with the genius of Ramanujacharya and also the great Vaishnava qualities of Ramanujacharya, that he gave his son Pundarikaksha to the disciple of Ramanujacharya. As time is progressing in Srirangam, and Ramanujacharya having taken sannyas in Kanchipuram and started preaching in Srirangam as well, Mahapurna gave an instruction to Ramanujacharya to take a mantra from another disciple of Yamunacharya by the name Goshtipurna. Goshtipurna is a very exalted saint and also a student of Yamunacharya, and at that time he was living in Pandyadesh, and Srirangam is located in the Chola kingdom, and Goshtipurna is living in the Pandya kingdom in a very prosperous town known as Tirukottiyur. It is almost like maybe some 600 or 700 kilometers away from Srirangam. So Mahapurna said to Ramanuja, once after Ramanuja completed his studies in Srirangam, Not far from here is a prosperous town known as Tirukottiyur. Living there is a great scholar and devotee, Goshtipurna by name, who was born in the Pandya country. It is no exaggeration to say that there is no other Vaishnava like him in this part of the country. If you desire to fully learn the meaning and the significance of the Vedic mantras, there is none but he who is qualified to teach you. I advise you to go to Tirukottiyar without delay and receive the mantra from Goshtipurna. So, having taken the instruction from Mahapurna, Ramanujacarya went to Tirukottiyar. It seems that for some reasons, Goshtipurna did not gave his secret mantra to Ramanuja immediately. So Ramanujacharya had to go 18 different times. 18 different times Ramanujacharya knocked the door of Goshtipurna, but each time Goshtipurna would say, "Come again some other time." And then he would say, "The time is not ready for me to give you the Diksha mantra." So, 18th time, when Ramanujacharya went to Tirukottiyar, and Goshtipurna did not give the mercy, and he felt dejected, and then and he started crying there in a nearby temple, and some of the brahmanas, they were they were astonished to see that Ramanujacharya was crying, and then they go and tell the whole thing to Goshtipurna that Ramanuja is dejected and is shedding tears. And at the time, Kanchipurna, moved by the genuine sincerity of Ramanujacharya, and he gave the sacred mantra to Ramanujacharya, and told him, this is a very sacred mantra, and whoever chants this mantra will go back to Vaikuntha after death, and this mantra should not be given to anybody who is not qualified. So that's a condition Goshtipurna has put in front of Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya accepted the condition, and secretly Mahapurna gave the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya to Ramanujacharya. And then Ramanujacharya left Goshtipurna, paying his obeisances to his guru. We mentioned that Ramanujacharya was actually given Diksha mantra by Mahapurna. However, he was taking instructions from various gurus like Goshtipurna, and several other disciples of Yamunacharya in Srirangam. So, even though he is in the renounced order of life, he was humbly taking instruction from all his seniors. But on the way from Tirukottiyar to Srirangam, Ramanujacharya was feeling very compassionate towards the suffering of the living entities in this material world. He said, why should I keep this secret mantra to myself? And he was so compassionate to the fallen conditioned souls, to the living beings who are suffering in this material world because of illusion. So he said, let me give this secret mantra to each and everyone. So on the way back to Srirangam, very near to Tirukottiyar, there is a temple of Lord Vishnu, and he went on to the Gopuram, and said, "Come, everybody, come. Today, I have the mantra, um, which is a precious jewel. Once, if you chant this mantra, you will go back to um, Vaikuntha after death." So already Ramanujacharya is, people know him. He is very famous at that time. And hearing the instruction, hearing um, the words of Ramanujacharya, everybody gathered in front of the temple, and he gave this secret mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya. And the crowd also eventually gathered and said the mantra in a thunderous voice. And it twice more Ramanuja called out the mantra, and twice more the thunderous response came from the crowd. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, like that. Um, he he made everybody chant near the temple in Tirukottiyur. But Goshtapurna was enraged. He said, he just said few hours back, don't give this mantra to everyone who is not qualified. And Ramanuja has uh, betrayed his guru's order. So Goshtapurna became very angry, and he said to Ramanuja, "Get out of my sight, lowest of men. I have committed a great sin by entrusting the most precious gem to such an untrustworthy person as yourself. Why have you come again here, forcing me to commit the sin of looking at your face?" And Goshtapurna cursed. He said to him, "Do you not realize, for committing the sin of doing Guru Droha, you will go to hell for countless lifetimes." But however, Ramanujacharya, out of compassion to the fellow living entities and in deep humility, and he submitted this to Goshtapurna in a humble manner. "It was only because I am prepared to suffer in hell that I dared to go against your order." So, being a great Vaishnava himself, Goshtapurna could understand the heart of um, Ramanujacharya, and he could realize that Ramanujacharya is not an ordinary soul. And he said, he also realized his mistake, and he said, "My dear son, I have never known anyone so magnanimous as yourself. From this day, you are my guru, and I am your disciple. There is no doubt that you are a most intimate associate of the Lord, whereas I am nothing but a common man." We can see that even Goshtapurna could see the effulgence, the brilliance, the compassion, and the humility in Ramanujacharya, and he forgave all his offenses, and he said, "Who am I to comprehend your greatness? And please forgive all of my sins." And after that instruction, after this incident, um, Goshtapurna became very loving. He developed a very loving and compassionate attitude towards Ramanujacharya. Um, so eventually, Ramanujacharya goes back to Srirangam, and and he started giving shelter to many disciples in Srirangam. So one one famous disciple of Srirangam, Ramanujacharya, is Kuresh, or he is also known as Kurunad. Um, and he was a wealthy Brahmana at that time, and he was like a he was Kuru is a like a, it seems a small country within somewhere near Kanchipuram. So he gave up all his wealth, and he donated all his wealth along with his wife. He came to Srirangam, and he became a disciple of Ramanujacharya. And he asked one time, please explain to me what is the meaning of this verse from Bhagavad Gita, which is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Ham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Masucha. So, which is the translation in English is abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. However, Quraysh wanted, the inner meaning. We may have an external understanding of a particular verse. Sometimes there is also a deeper meaning inside, deeper meaning. So Ramanujacharya replied, a person who gives up all independent desires and who serves his guru absolutely for an entire year, he can understand the full meaning of this verse and no one else. This is a practical instruction which Ramanujacharya gave to Quraysh. And he said, but Quraysh said, but life is so uncertain, Srila Gurudev. So how can I know whether or not I will live for another year? Please. So he submitted one more request. Please bestow your mercy upon me by making the meaning of the words manifest in my heart even now. So Yatiraj, Ramanujacharya, famously known as Yatiraj, the best of the renunciants, considered this request for a while and then replied, if you live for 1 month by begging alms from door to door without knowing where your next meal will come from, then you will begin to realize the meaning of full surrender. At that time, I will instruct you in all the meanings of this glorious verse. So, since Quraysh, now having accepted the new instruction, he followed it. So he did not ask for any other easy answer. So for 1 month, Quraysh lived whatever his guru has told him to do, and after 1 month has passed, then he went back and got the meaning from. I think he got the realization at that time. What is the meaning of that verse? And he was happy with that instruction. So, and in the meantime, there is one more student by name Dasharati, and Dasharati was a nephew of Ramanujacharya. So he also made the same request. It seems that. So in this case, he but Ramanujacharya said, you go to Goshtipurna and you take the instruction from you take the instruction from Goshtipurna. Therefore, Dasharati went to Goshtipurna, and it seems that Dasharati, Goshtipurna did not reveal the meaning of that verse directly to Dasharati, and so again Goshtipurna sends Dasharati back to Ramanujacharya. Um, oh, sorry. Actually, Dasharati was he wanted. Sorry, he wanted Goshtipurna to give the meaning. So he sent Dasharati to Tirukottiyar, and for 6 months he sat at the feet of Mahatma Goshtipurna, and he wanted to understand the meaning of that words. So even after 6 months, um, Goshtipurna did not give the meaning of that words which was spoken by Lord Krishna. Eventually, taking pity on the young man, Goshtipurna told Dasharati, um, he said that you are certainly a most brilliant scholar. I know that well. However, you must understand that education, wealth, and birth in an aristocratic family can cause pride and arise in the heart of a small minded man. In those who are virtuous, great learning brings self control and thus gives rise to good qualities, not blemishes. Understanding these instructions, now return to your own Guru. He will reveal the meaning of this verse as you desire. So, Goshtipurna um, did not give the did not give the meaning of that. Um, Meaning of that verse. Okay. So when he returned back to Srirangam, Ramanujacarya to purify his disciple Dasharati, he gave another task. The task this time is Mahapurna. I mean the one of the disciples of Yamunacharya. He has a daughter. Her name is Atulai, and she was just married very recently, and she went um, to her in-laws place, and every day the mother-in-law would ask Atulai, or Mahapurna's daughter, and she would say, uh, go and bring the water from the lake, which is about 2 miles from the house. Um, so she was, Atulai was in great. She was she was very dissatisfied with her in-laws treatment, being very happy, and she goes back to her father's house. I mean Mahapurna, and Mahapurna said that Ramanujacharya will give a solution for you. So, to solve the problem of Atulai, um, Ramanujacharya told Dasharati, now you go and take help, um, basically go and help um, Atulai at her in-laws place. So that is what is going on there. Then, so he gave, when Atulai comes to Ramanujacharya for help on the instruction of her father, he gives this assurance. Dear sister, do not worry. Here I have one Brahmana whom I will send with you. He will do the work of fetching water from the lake and also cooking as well. So, after being told by Ramanujacharya, Dasharati understood the desire of his father, and he was very happy to follow Atulai to her in-laws house. So every day he was doing all the work in Atulai's father-in-law's house, and then so one day a Vaishnava came to that same village, and he was giving, I think, words from, he was explaining a verse from the scriptures, but he was giving all impersonalist misconceptions. That verse, whatever verse was that, um, he was um, he was giving a impersonalist um, explanation to that verse. But Dasharati, he himself is a great scholar, so he could not restrain himself, and he says, "You fool, where, where is the jackal and where is the heaven? Whoever heard of a cook?" Dasharavati was among the crowd, and we heard the speaker's presentation tinged with impersonalist misconceptions. He could not restrain himself from pointing out those errors. But that whoever that person was, yeah, Um, he wasn't happy, and then he rebukes Dasharati, um, and then he basically explains very nicely that based on the uh, uh, personal conception, he gives a very nice meaning to that verse, and then everybody appreciates his great scholarship, and then few days later, um, they all go to Srirangam and submit to Ramanujacharya why such a great scholar like Dasharati was doing such a menial work in the house of Atulai, doing the kitchen work and washing the utensils and fetching the water every day, almost of 2 kilometers away from their house. So then when Ramanuja, all the village people, whoever was some of the villagers, they went to Srirangam and submitted to Ramanujacharya, "O Mahatma, it is not proper that your worthy disciple should be engaged as a cook any longer. He has no trace of pride in his heart and is certainly an exalted Paramahamsa. Please give orders so that in great honor we may bring him back to your feet once more." So, as we can see, Ramanujacharya was giving different instructions to different disciples to make them more pure. So, we should not take things in a negative way here. Um, so there is another, um, there is one more devotee by name Maladara, and he was a god brother of um, god brother of Mahapurna. So we can see here Ramanujacharya is not only giving instructions to his disciples, but he was also giving instructions, enlightenment to some of the disciples of Yamunacharya, even though they are like seniors. Um, so, some of the Mahapurna was could understand the brilliance and intelligence of Ramanujacharya, and he was sending some of his god brothers to take enlightenment and instruction from Ramanujacarya. So here we have another instance of another god brother of Mahapurna by name Maladara, and in this case, um, um, Goshti Purna. So Maladara, it seems he has fully understood the Satari Sukta, the 1,000 songs composed by the great devotee Satari. Um, one day, however, the teacher gave an explanation. Um, One day, however, the teacher gave an explanation of one of the verses which seemed improper to Ramanuja, who put forward a different understanding. So, so Ramanujacharya, so he could not. He had a different. He has a different understanding of the one of the verses from Shatari Sukta. So Maladara, he wasn't happy that a much junior was. Ramanujacharya is a junior to him in terms of seniority. He's a disciple of his own god brother Mahapurna. So he wasn't happy that Ramanuja has given a different meaning to that Satari Sukta verse. So naturally, he left the association of Ramanujacharya, and he goes back to Goshtipurna. And Goshtipurna says this important point: My dear brother, do not judge him as you would an ordinary person. None of us can understand Yamunacharya's intimate thoughts and desires to the extent he can. Therefore, when he gives some explanation of the verses, you should hear him as if our beloved Guru Yamunacharya himself were speaking. So this Maladara, he was sent by Goshtipurna to Srirangam to to understand the Shatari Sukta as well. Acting on this advice, so eventually Maladara was very pacified, and then he goes back to Ramanuja, and he starts again hearing from Sri Ramanujacharya. So now, after being purified, Maladara could understand. Now he was able to put more attention, and this time he was very pleased, and he was amazed to see Ramanujacharya's profound and inspired understanding of Vaishnava philosophy. In a great mood of great reverence, he circumambulated and then brought forward his son to be Ramanujacharya's disciple. So we can see the pastimes. We can see how Ramanujacharya was able to inspire Mahapurna. He was able to inspire Goshtipurna, and he was also able to inspire Maladara. And so he's continuing, as he continues his teachings in Srirangam. So he instructed on the science of dharma, and one of the verses he gave to his students was that Guru eva param brahma, Gurur eva param dhanam, Gurur eva param kamo, Gurur eva parayanam. That person who sees his spiritual master as the personification of the Lord himself, and who serves his Guru perfectly with no other desire just have you as you have served me is the greatest knower of Dharma. This is the limit of my understanding. So Ramanujacarya is so is he gave this famous instruction to see Guru as the personification of the Lord Himself, and he also says we should serve the Guru with no other desire, just like as we serve the supreme personality of Godhead. So we can say um, with Ramanuja's great brilliance, Ramanujacharya's great brilliance, he was not only taking instructions from Yamunacharya's five most intimate disciples, Kanchipurna, Mahapurna, Goshtipurna, Maladara, and Varanga, each of whom embodied a different aspect of the great Yamunacharya. When he spoke about the glories of the Lord, the unhappiness and material desires of all those who heard from him immediately went to a distant place. So we can say, if one hears from a great Acharya, like in this case Ramanujacharya, um, unhappiness, two things, unhappiness and material desires. So everybody is suffering in this material world because of unhappiness and constant flow of material desires. When we hear from great devotees, those two things will disappear. So Srirangam um, was was a small temple before 8th century. So it seems that there was hardly any structure. There wasn't a magnificent temple before the time of Tirumangai Alvar. It's so there is another story on how Tirumangai Alvar he constructed Srirangam temple with the help of three of his disciples. So so he took the help of three of his disciples, and Tirumangai Alvar. So as this is Tirumangai Alvar, is like I think 200 years or maybe 300 years before Ramanujacharya, and he did request. He wanted to construct a magnificent temple, um, magnificent temple for Ranganatha, and it seems that um, in those times, before the time of Tirumangai Alvar, somewhere around 8th century AD, the temple was completely dilapidated. I mean, basically, it's all completely. It's not even a full-fledged temple. It's like filled with bats, and thick forest was was around the deity of Lord Ranganatha, and so it seems that even the priests were scared of offering flowers and water to the deity of Lord Ranganatha, and the whoever came to worship the Lord, they would run away from wild animals that were in that surrounding forest on River Kaveri. When he saw, so he made a strong desire that he wants to build a magnificent and opulent temple for Lord Ranganatha. So to achieve that a magnificent feat, he has taken the help of three disciples, Thola Vajakan. The second one is Taludavan and Nijalai Mitipan. So three had different abilities. The first one has the ability to vanquish any opponent in a debate. The second one has the ability to open any lock without the need of a key. And the third one has as the force to stop any man simply by stepping on his shadow. And the fourth one, Nirmal Nadappan, he had the Lagima Siddhi, which enabled him to walk on the water without drowning. So let's see how these how Tirumangai Alvar and the four disciples um, achieve the feat of building a magnificent temple there. So they go and beg. So they go and request many landlords, wealthy landowners, to give their money for building the building the temple, but they refuse. And so what they do is they all become they all take the help of um, so they all take the help of few robbers, in that area, to loot the wealth from the rich landlords near Srirangam. So it took almost like 60 years, it seems. They completed this magnificent temple in Srirangam with the help of four disciples, and also with the help of few landlords, I mean few robbers. So they made a determination to rob the wealth from the landlords, um, and they want to use that all the money that is stolen from the rich landlords, and they want to use that money for building the temple, and they also want to feed the poor. So in their endeavor, they took the help of the robbers in that area. With the assistance of his four disciples, Tirumangai soon became the leader of the large gang of robbers. So, as you can see here, they took the help of the robbers. Together, they accumulated a great hoard of riches that was kept concealed in a secret place on Ranganatha's island. Spending large sums of money, Tirumangai brought the best architects in the land to design a huge temple for the Lord, and at an auspicious moment, he laid down the foundation stone. And it seems that in successive stages, the temple was built. All in all, it took about 60 years to complete the construction of the temple, and by the time the temple was constructed, Tirumangai Alvar was about 80 years old. So, because they were taking the help of the robbers, and the robbers were feeling that Tirumangai Alvar is not sharing the wealth, any of the wealth with them, and they are just using the money for the construction of the temple. So they wanted to kill Tirumangai Alvar. So somehow this one of the disciples of Tirumangai Alvar, he came to know about the conspiracy to kill their leader. So he secretly takes them, all of them, um, to a nearby island in the Kaveri river, and he says that, my dear brothers, somewhere hidden along the northern bank of the river of the Kaveri, there is a large amount of treasure belonging to our master. Look, here is a boat. I will take you to that place where the treasure is hidden, and we can divide it among ourselves. Basically, here we can see that this disciple, one of the disciples of Tirumangai Alvar, he tricks them and he takes them to the island, and suddenly there is a um, huge flood, and in that flood, all these robbers perish, and the disciple who could walk on the water, he slowly comes out of the water. As we can see here, this is the brilliant temple with magnificent gopurams. This was one of the largest temple complexes in India for a long, long time. Um, So, and that devotee, whoever he took the robbers, he was able to walk back to Srirangam. And then later on, all the Tirumanga Alvar, he said, let's stop the way of robbery, and now we will worship the Lord, and we will be good Vaishnavas, and we will distribute all the wealth to the poor and to feed the poor. So as almost like after the construction of the brilliant temple, now almost 300 years, during the time of Ramanujacarya, there was this one high priest of Srirangam. This high priest is a very corrupt person, and he was very envious of of the of the respect and adoration that people are giving to Yatiraj. And so in Srirangam, so since he is the high priest, and he was expecting that people will come and give him great respect and great adoration, but that was not happening, and all the adoration and respect was going to Ramanujacharya. And also Ramanujacharya, he made a few changes in the way on how the deity worship has to be conducted at Srirangam temple. And the high priest was not happy, and so are some of the priests in Srirangam temple. So they all come together and they kind of hatch up a plan. So we need to get rid of Ramanujacharya. So unfortunately, they came up with a plan, they to get rid of Ramanujacharya. So even though they are worshipping Lord Vishnu, and even though they are, such a great temple, but their minds are unfortunately, contaminated, and we have to. It's a great lesson for all the Vaishnavas to take this important lesson to be not to be envious of other Vaishnavas. So this is a great lesson. So this high priest, what he says is, he also somehow convinces his wife. Convinces his wife to poison the food. So basically, since Ramanujacharya is a renunciant, he was taking alms from several brahmanas in the temple complex. So today he said to his wife, today I have invited Ramanuja to take alms here. This is our great opportunity to get rid of the scoundrel once for all. You know where the poison is to be found. So need I say more? So eventually, when when Ramanujacharya came to his house, to the high priest's house, so the the high priest's wife, she even though she initially thought of poisoning Ramanujacharya, she when she saw him, she could not she could not restrain herself, and she started shedding tears, and she addressed Ramanujacharya, my dear child, if you want to save yourself, then go elsewhere to take your meal. If you take this food, you will definitely die. So eventually, Ramanujacharya was like contemplating why the high priest has so much envy on him, and why he's trying to kill him. So then Ramanujacharya, Goshtipurna, as we mentioned earlier, that has a great affectionate and loving attitude towards Ramanujacharya. He eventually came, he also knew the plan that there is a conspiracy in the temple to kill Ramanujacharya. So then, so Goshtipurna also, so he Ramanuja tells the whole thing. He narrates the whole story of how the temple's high priest is trying to kill him. So so he goes and tells Goshtipurna, "I'm so unhappy at the thought of this his mental condition. How can he be freed from such a great sin?" So to this, Goshtipurna replied, "When you desire the Lord's mercy for this sinful soul, there is no need to fear for him. Very soon he will give up his evil ways and becomes a righteous person." So the high priest, he makes one more attempt to kill Ramanujacharya by poisoning the Charnamrut. So on the same day, he tries to poison. He came to know that his wife revealed the plan to kill Ramanujacharya. So in this on the same day evening, he poisons the Charnamrut, and then he tries to give the Charnamrut to Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya, even though he knew that it was a poison, there was a poison in the Charnamrut. This time he, instead of throwing the Charnamrut away, he prays to the Lord, um, and 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 he drinks the Charnamrut because the Lord is mercy is there on Ramanujacharya. So Lord Ranganath's mercy was there. So he was saved from this poisonous and deadly Charnamrut. So, but this by this time, the high priest, he could understand that Ramanujacharya he is not an ordinary soul, and he starts, you know, he also begs forgiveness from Ramanujacharya, and he goes and submits this request. You have descended to enact the desires of Lord Vishnu by destroying sinful men like me. Delay no longer, my Lord. Send me at once to the abode of Yamaraj. I am not even fit to touch your feet. So please punish me immediately for all sins, all my sins. Only then may I achieve relief from their reactions. Delay no longer. Throw me at once under the feet of an elephant or into a blazing fire. I do not desire to live for a moment more. So Ramanujacharya, being a great Vaishnava, he forgives the high priest. Um, so this is, we can see that the greatness of Ramanujacharya in forgiving even his who tried to attempt to kill him. I mean the high priest. Um, so while Ramanujacharya is continuing his pastimes in Srirangam, there was one great scholar by name Yagnamurti. So he was a brilliant scholar, and he came from Varanasi, and he wanted to defeat Ramanujacharya. So he came all the way from Varanasi to Srirangam along his disciples. I mean most of the followers, not disciples. Most of his followers who were once, they were once defeated by Yagnamurti himself. So Yagnamurti is not an ordinary scholar. He was, it seems that he was a brilliant scholar, and for almost 17 days, Ramanujacharya struggled um, to nullify the clever arguments and of Yagnamurti. So on the 18th day, so he very, he could not defeat Yagnamurti. He was Yagnamurti was a brilliant scholar. So he was not able to establish the supremacy of Lord Vishnu in the arguments. So then, so on that day, and he prayed to the Lord's deity, and with folded hands. And the truth that is, um, so then he prays for the Lord to help him. Um, so so it seems, then Lord assures Ramanujacharya through a dream. When he had finished his prayer, um, Lord appeared in a dream and told him, "Don't be anxious. Before long, the full glory of devotional service will be revealed to the world through you." So eventually, the next day, um, Yajnamurti could see the difference in Ramanujacharya's face. He could see the brilliance, and he says there is some change um, now. Is no longer afraid of the debate. So, and he gives up the desire to be to debate further with Ramanujacharya. So after that, Yajnamurti becomes a disciple of Ramanujacharya. So as we can see, whoever doubted Ramanujacharya, whoever came to defeat Ramanujacharya, they all, one after the other, their intelligence is pacified, and they are defeated, or they are subdued, and they are became also, the disciples of Ramanujacharya. So here, after it seems that before um, he gave the he gave Yajnamurti a name Devaraja Muni, and he instructed him that now that your learning has bead from the contamination of pride, it can shine forth upon the world. You should engage yourself in writing books which perfectly explain the behavior and philosophy of the Vaishnavas. So it was in accordance with the order of his guru that Devaraja Muni um, wrote two wonderful devotional literatures, Jnanasara and Pramayasara. So you can see how the transformation has happened even in a great Mayavadi scholar, Yajnamurti. Um, so after few years, maybe Ramanujacharya also visited Tirumala Kshetra, which is another great center for Sri Vaishnavas in South India, along with Srirangam, Kanchipuram, and Melkote. Then, in those days, there was a great debate on whether the Lord in Tirumala is a deity of Shiva, or is it a deity of Vishnu. So, but Ramanujacharya defeated all the Shankara followers and all the Mayavadis followers, and he established through different scriptures and through arguments, and he defeated them, and he put a conch shell and a chakra, Sudarshan chakra, on the deity of Lord Vishnu in Tirumala. Before that, it seems that in the history of Tirumala there was no conch shell and there was no chakra. But after the defeat of the Shankara followers and the Mayavada followers, Ramanujacharya was able to establish that the Lord in Tirumala is a deity of Lord Vishnu. And there were many other pastimes even in Tirumala. Because of time constraints, I could not put many more. Let's see what happens next. So then, after a few days, there are a couple of pastimes in Tirumala. There was one with a famous one of his famous very very wealthy uh, disciple by name Ignesh, and also with another disciple Lakshmi. There was a humility test, and it seems that Ramanujacarya, um, to show humility is important in Vaishnava dealings. He had taken prasad at Lakshmi's house, and instead of taking the prasad at Yagnesh's house. Then after that, um, then once Ramanujacharya was contemplating one of the three promises, he made it to in front of the Yamunacharya's body, that he will write a commentary on Sri Bhashya. Um, but to write a commentary on Sri Bhashya, um, Ramanujacharya needed another text by name Bodhayana Vritti. This was was written by sage Bodhayana, and it was a very rare book. And it seems that at that time he said to Quraysh, um, I have made a promise to Yamunacharya that I would write this Sri Bhashya commentary, but until now I have done nothing to keep my vow. Before attempting such a task, it is essential that I study the Bodhayana Vritti written by the sage Bodhayana. But this is such a rare book that I have been unable to locate a single copy of it anywhere in this part of the country. So eventually, Ramanujacharya goes to Kashmir and then there were many Pandits at the time in Sharada Peeth at the time, and they were reluctant to give the copy of Bodhayana Vritti to Ramanujacharya. And it seems that Ma Sharada Devi was was able to give that copy secretly to him on his journey back. Um, so we can see here Goddess Sharada Devi appears and delivers the text to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya was very happy that he got the text, and then he started traveling back to South India along with Quraysh. But somehow the Pandits came to know that the copy was taken by Ramanujacharya. They were thinking that Ramanujacharya stole that copy, but that was not the case. And they snatched that copy. They tried to follow him, Ramanujacharya and Quraysh, on their way back to South India. They catch they snatched that copy, and they ran away back to Sharada Peeth. But however, with the help of Quraysh says, "My dear Guru Maharaj, don't be disappointed. I have memorized the entire copy of the Bodhayana Vritti in all these days." I mean, almost they traveled together for probably a month or so, and he was able to memorize all the contents. And with the help of the Quraysh, Lord, Ramanujacharya could complete the commentary on Sri Bhashya, Vedanta Sutras, and that is popularly known as Sri Bhashya. And there was another devotee. There are so many pastimes. We'll try to complete maybe in another 5 to 10 minutes. So there is one more devotee, a disciple of Ramanujacharya by the name Dasa. He was once there is a great procession was going on in Srirangam, and everybody was was looking at the procession of Lord Ranganatha, but this one Dasa, he was, he was fascinated by the beauty of one courtesan, it seems. She was a courtesan in Chola Empire. And then he was, at the time, he wasn't married to Hemamba, but he was carrying that umbrella for her. And all the devotees and all the public were amazed, where why this fool is behaving in such a foolish way, Dhanurdhasa. And Ramanujacharya calls him and then says, "Why are you doing this?" And then he says, "If I can." She's very beautiful. To that he says, "She's very beautiful. I have not seen any other beauty other than that of Hemamba in my entire life. So that is why I am carrying this umbrella for her." So to this Ramanujacharya says, "If I can show you a pair of eyes even more beautiful than those of your beloved, will you give up this lady and love the other?" The wrestler, Dharmadasa replies, "It were possible to discover a pair of eyes filled with a more haunting beauty than those of Hemamba, I will give up my, I will give up my whatever he was doing to Hemamba." So eventually, on the same day evening, with the blessings of Ramanujacharya, Dhanurdasa was able to see a astounding beauty, phenomenal beauty in the eyes of Lord Ranganatha. So it wasn't, Lord's hand was there. It's not easy that one could immediately see a deity and could see a magnificent beauty in Lord's eyes. So there was definitely a mercy there of both the Guru and the Lord. Eventually, it seems Dhanurdasa became a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and he did such a great service to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya, being a sannyas, he arranged a marriage between Dhanurdhasa and Hemamba. Um, and after a few years, um, it seems that there was a Chola king by name Kolatunga Chola. He was very envious of the Vaishnavas, and he was persecuting. He was persecuting all the Vaishnavas in Srirangam, and to escape the persecution of Kolatunga Chola, Ramanujacharya escaped to Melkote, and for almost 12 years he was in Melkote, and and in Melkote he was able to do many other wonderful pastimes, and he made the king at the time of Karnataka. He was a Jain follower with his great intelligence and with great beauty. Ramanujacharya, made him the king of Karnataka to be his disciple, and they built several temples in Melkote. And it seems that at the age of 90, Ramanujacharya brought the Rampriya deity. So this was basically taken by the Muslim kings in Delhi at the time, and he went all the way to Delhi, and he convinced the king at the time to give back the deity Ramapriya, and is also known as Chela Pillai. In Tamil, it's called Chela Pillai. And Ramapriya walked back to him, it seems. when Ramanujacharya went to Delhi in the palace of the king, when he saw the deity, the deity walked back to him. So in this way, so many pastimes have were performed by Ramanujacharya, and eventually Ramanujacharya left in 1137 AD. So before he left this mortal world, the disciples of Ramanujacharya and followers of Ramanujacharya were in very great anxiety. They were in great anxiety, and they wanted so they are not ready to give up their attachment to Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya told them to make a deity of Ramanujacharya was cast at the time, and he transformed all his Shakti into the deity, and he told his followers that they can worship him in the deity form in the future, and they can see him and they can feel the presence of him in the deity even after his departure from the mortal world. So he left this mortal world in 1137 AD in the lap of his cousin Govinda, Ramanuja's cousin Govinda. And then we can see, as we can see here, even in Srirangam today, in front of the deity of Sri Ramanujacharya, we can see his mortal body. Even though he left, the devotees and the disciples and the followers, they preserved the body of Ramanujacharya, and they even today also they use sandalwood paste and saffron to maintain the body, and no other chemicals are added like Egyptian and Goan mummies. His body is placed behind his idol and is open for darshan to all the followers. So with this, I end my presentation. If there are any questions, it is a great subject, and the Ramanujacharya is a great personality, and there are many similarities between the pastimes of Ramanujacharya and also to our Srila Prabhupada. We can compare them, how he was the Sampradaya Acharya and how our Prabhupada is the ISKCON founder Acharya. We can take great inspiration from these two exalted souls. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I thank all the devotees at ISV and also the and also His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu and Nirakula Mataji for giving me an opportunity to give this presentation. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Very well, Prabhu. Thank you. Very wonderful presentation, Prabhu. There's so many pastimes of Sri Ramanujacharya. And throughout, there are very wonderful pastimes on humility, actually. How, I'm forgetting the name, but he served that lady, his disciple, right? Ramanujacharya's disciple. He served that lady,
Lakshmi?
Lakshmi, I think. Lakshmi, yeah. They served that lady for, cooking and then bringing water like a menial servant, right?
Yes, he did so. Yeah, at Kanchipuram, following the orders of Yamuna, Kanchipurna.
Yeah.
So he did menial service.
Yeah, menial service, yeah. And then when he showed his erudite scholarship, then people came to know, how come he's doing such a menial service. Dasarathi, yes, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. I think we are well past the time, 8:44. Otherwise, we would have discussed. I don't see any comments, but this is definitely comments or questions, but this is definitely I learned a lot basically from the about the Sri Sampradaya and Ramanujacarya from these pastimes. And yes, you are right. There are many similarities. Like Dasanudasa principle is something Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually in our Sampradaya, that whole Dasanudas principle actually came from Sri Sampradaya. He took that from the Sri Sampradaya. That whole Dasanudasa principle. So yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I think
Thank you for the opportunity, Prabhu.
yeah, Vancha
Paturbhyasya Kripasindhubhyo Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anantakoti Vaishnavabhyo Ki Jai Srila
Tadiya
Prabhupada
Seva
Ki
Prabhu
Jai
ki jai, Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
Ki
jai,
Jai
Gaur Bhakta Binda ki
Ki
jai.
Jai.
Thank you, dear devotees, for taking time from your busy lives and joining this Wednesday online class. Please do not forget to come to Saturday. We'll be celebrating Krishna Janmashtami throughout the day. And again, next week, Wednesday, online only class will meet again. We go Hare Krishna. We'll close the session now.